Welcome back, everyone. In this video, we're going to check out the new Thrill of the Fight 2 VR boxing game and see how it's changed from the first game. Just so you know, the devs have said the game is still in the testing stage, so they are making changes to it regularly. I've been playing it for the last 3 weeks now, and I can say it definitely feels like an awesome workout. I played the first game too and reached the final opponent on that one, so I was excited to try out the new release. And so were many others. People have been going crazy over its release, and for the last few weeks it's been appearing in the top trending VR games on the Meta app. When you open up the game, the first thing you see is the boxing gym. And it looks really cool. You get this iPad in front of you where you can control the settings, start playing matches, and try out the training. You can head to the training room where you can test your punches. I've noticed it likes the hooks and strong straights to the body. The damage system was very different just a week or so ago, though, and not in a good way. It seemed to be misjudging punches, which made it difficult to play. I think the update has improved that a lot so far. They've included versions 2.0 in the training. I'm not sure what the difference is, and if it will be used as the official damage system. But it seems they are constantly working on improving it and taking in user recommendations really well. What sets this game apart is the online multiplayer function. I've not actually come across this yet in a VR boxing game. It's pretty straightforward. You simply start the search and the game will match you with an opponent. After being put into the VR ring, my first impressions were, why does the opponent look so weird? The characters do look quite strange, and can sometimes form movements that I don't think are even possible.
Come on now, dawg.
As soon as you get into the game, though, that soon doesn't become a problem. The realism for movement becomes more apparent, and you can really work on defense, especially head movement. I hope the screen movement doesn't make this video too hard to watch. In the VR ring, though, it's a lot of fun, and you might not expect that you'll become tired pretty soon. After about 2 or 3 opponents, it starts to feel exhausting, and I'd like to think I've got pretty good stamina.
Getting a little tired, though.
I like the fact that they've added different signals to indicate the damage being taken. The blue light flashes show light damage, whereas the red flashes are more heavy impacts. When a person gets stunned, the screen becomes a little distorted. I've played around 40 matches so far, and they all have seemed to be much more exerting than playing the AI model on the first game. The opponent really wants to win, and the game feels much more competitive. I do think it's worth mentioning, though, that because it's online gameplay, you can expect to get some unsportsmanlike behavior from some spammers and trolls using the game. And probably a third of my matches have ended with the opponent disconnecting too. Not sure if that's a connection thing or if they just switched off. A few weeks ago, the damage system was struggling to process different power shots, which did make it annoying to play as you'd get many spammers cheating through the game. The newer updates have improved it a lot. There are still weaknesses, especially when it comes to power deliverance. I think that's going to be a difficult thing to replicate. However, the defense motions for movement seem to be really good. After the bouts, you get to see the rounds you've won and the damage from each round. But it doesn't give you a breakdown of shots like it did in the first game, which I really liked. It seems to be a really good workout for improving the lateral movements and building up the cardio. However, I can imagine if you have poor form already that your form would get worse. Practicing poor form does lead to bad habits for boxing, but then again, if your goal is just fitness, I think this is great. I do hope this game can get even better and add more realistic boxing defensive and attacking practices. The devs seem to be doing a great job so far, and I'm impressed by all the updates and how they are taking on people's feedback really well. I opened up the older game for comparisons. The menu options presents you with a bunch of training features like the heavy bag, speed bag, and so on. I can only assume the second game will include more features on its full release. Jumping into the game, I was taken by surprise because I forgot it couldn't move around the ring, like Thrill of the Fight 2 can.
Get off of him.
On the controllers, you can actually move around the ring if you don't have enough space, which makes it a ton easier to do your shadow boxing. On this game, I was confined to a small box because I was playing in a small space, so unfortunately I was stuck. I also realized one of the reasons why I started playing this game less. It was because for some reason my left jabs and hooks weren't being counted. I've no idea why. The left jabs are one of the most important tools in boxing, and I can't understand why it doesn't count them properly. I'll show you at the end. After getting the hang of the game again, I was able to get the finish.
Mama, we did it!
Ladies and gentlemen,
One of the
with
best
match
things I like
ending
about
in
this
the
game is
second
because of the
round.
amount of details it gives you in the breakdown afterwards. I hope they can implement something like this in Thrill of the Fight too. But there you can see all the shots you've done. And here's how I know the left jab doesn't count. I'm not sure if others have experienced that as well. But that's not all. Before you turn off, here's another boxing game you won't want to miss if you're interested in improving your fitness and enjoy VR workouts. The Fight is another VR boxing game which has great training features. I really don't advise playing this for the matches at all, but I do like the training features it has. They seem to be ahead of the other games. For example, you can hit the pads. Here, you get to experience someone holding the pads as they hold combinations. You can see the results after too. Granted, they're a little slow, but I'm not sure if they can be sped up. The other training drills are fun as well and feel like a great workout. But as I said earlier, I wouldn't advise getting the game for the matches. It seems way too hard to get any form of knockdowns or even stop the bouts. Going back to Thrill of the Fight 2, at the moment they only have this for their training. I think it's really just to get a feel for punching within the matches. As we said, the game is still in working progress, so if they do add some cool training features too, that would be awesome. One thing you'll want to note, though, is that by playing an intense game like this, it involves a lot of movement. You'll want to have a decent amount of space to play in, and ideally, a good head strap so your headset doesn't fly off. I'm using the Bobo VR head strap. It does a pretty good job at fitting securely on your head, and I like the simplified size adjuster on the back. It makes it easy to switch the headset between people if you want others to play as well. I used to use the original MetaQuest 3 head strap with Thrill of the Fight 1, and found that the straps would become uncomfortable around the ears and back of the head after playing a while, but this one seems to be much more comfortable. I'll leave a link in the description for those interested below. And to be honest, the gaming experience wouldn't be as good without the controller grips. The grips I'm using allow much more arm movement without worrying about the controller flying into the TV screen. I think these are super important, and they're really cheap too. I made a video about this one and some other cool accessories which work really well with games like Thrill of the Fight 2. Head over to our next video to learn more on these awesome Quest 3 accessories.